I just spoke to Dr. Prickers. I realized that you all may be used to clicking in and seeing the Zoom link in D2L,
Yeah,
Yeah,
but mine wasn't there, was
no.
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 it? Okay. Oh boy. It's just a learning curve with D2L. So afterwards, I realized that there's a place where all the courses are listed. I didn't realize that. So I could probably recreate the Zoom link, or we could just use this one for the duration of this semester. Well, it's 6:01 my time, and I'd like for us to go ahead and get started. So let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we come. We're thankful for the opportunity to just pause and sharpen ourselves as instruments in your hand.
Amen.
We pray that you would inspire our minds, that afresh we would come to you, and that you would direct our thoughts. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 All right, so you all are familiar with one another, but I'm not terribly familiar with you all. So if we're with everyone, so if you could just let's just do a quick icebreaker. Tell me your name, where you're from, what church you are a member of, what position you hold at that church, and just tell us something that nobody on the line knows about you. And we can do that in whatever order.
All right, Uba, you go first.
All right. So I'm from the Northeastern Conference. City Tab is my church. I'm currently the first elder of City Tab in New York. I'm also a part of the New York State Chaplain Task Force. I serve as a chaplain and also uh, one of the chaplains for New York State Fraternal Order Police.
Nice.
In my secular life, I'm also a director in one of the Fortune 1000 companies. Um, Started Oakwood, what was it, a year and a half ago? Um, Recommended by Dr. Joseph, the ministerial director of the Northeastern Conference, and took his recommendation and started here. It's been a blessing so far, and I think God is leading me in the right direction.
Awesome. Awesome. And tell us something that nobody on the line knows about you.
Uh, these guys know me. Let me see.
I didn't know you were. That was new to me.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I know the professor, so that's something you guys don't know about me. So.
Oh man, that one was that was a cheap shot.
Yeah, man.
I mean, I thought you were gonna tell us, your favorite food, or I don't know.
Favorite food? Okay.
Yeah.
Ackee and saltfish, man. I love Jamaican breakfast.
Really?
Yeah, ackee saltfish dumplings. That's one of my favorites.
Okay, Steve, that's surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Who's gonna go next?
Elder Terrence Brown. I'm from Charity SDA Church, which is one of the sister churches of Faith. We were actually birthed out of Faith. Um, I started in 2017, and I had my parents get sick. I stopped and I started back up in 2019. So I have a year left before I finish my master's program. And let's see what else about me. I was in the military, Air Force. I did 2 tours in Iraq. I'm a veteran, and I just applied for chaplaincy for the VA. Looks like I might be able to get in the program for the summer to get my chaplaincy license. Let's see. I preach in my church a lot, I guess. I'm an elder there. I'm also with the youth. And I also have an online ministry. I preach on social media,
Thanks.
and I do Bible studies on social media with different people.
Mm.
And let's see, One thing someone will know about me. Uh, um, well, I'm the only American elder in my church. Everybody else is West Indian. And my wife is from Jamaica. I don't know if everybody knows that. So I eat a lot of Jamaican food.
Ackee and sawfish.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, eat
Yeah.
that a
All,
lot.
all day, every day, huh?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you. Who do we have next?
I'll let Fran
I'll
go.
go.
Go, Fran.
My name is Francina Jefferson. I'm from Columbia, Mississippi. I'm in the Southern Conference. I I attend South Columbia Church. My current pastor is Dr. Jason McCracken. And let's see, I was recommended for the MATS program by Steve Norman, uh, Southern Union editor. Um, I work a lot with women's ministry. In fact, I'm the Southern Division for the state of Mississippi Women's Ministry here. I have about 12 churches that I work with the women in. I also do Bible studies quite a bit. Since we've not been allowed to go to church, I tend to Bible studies, usually through Zoom, sometimes on phone line, the conference call lines. I do Bible studies also with my family on Thursdays, and I do a vesper service with my family on Sabbath. We close out Sabbath together. Um, I am the elder in a church, the clerk, and I've been the clerk since 1985. Actually, when I came into the church, they automatically made me clerk, which was interesting. And I'm also a Sabbath school teacher. I've worked with young people quite a bit. In fact, for a while, and I thought this was really interesting. When I was like in my 50s, I was put over South Mississippi Youth Federation,
All right.
and I worked president. So some of you all might not know that, but it was really interesting. I kept trying to get out of it. I had Elder Edmund and Pastor uh, Shepherd told them I was not going to do it. Had it all made up, and Pastor Elder Edmund said, "If somebody calls your name, would you do it?" I said, "If somebody called my name," I told everybody I knew, "Do not call my name. I'm not going to do anything." And this woman sat out next to me who I hadn't seen in years. And when they asked for somebody to run, "Oh, Fran can run." So I had to keep my word.
Wow.
But I love working with young people. I love working with old people. And I just try to keep myself busy. Even though we're not attending church, I try to stay in touch with all the members and keep them abreast of whatever's going on or whatever we're doing. We do a lot of food distribution and
Nice.
stuff like that.
That's
And
awesome.
I hate to say it, but my favorite food is ice cream.
Ice cream. Come on now. That's cool.
I know. I don't eat it that often, but it's my favorite food.
Yeah.
I gotta stay away from ice cream. It's
I
not
know.
Good. It's not good for me.
It's not good for any of us.
Yeah. So my name is Daniel Perez. I've been here in this program with my fellows here, Fran, Uba, and Terrace. We started at the same time about a year and a half ago. Um, I just recently transferred to an American church. By the grace of God, I spoke with the pastor there, Dr. Bain. He is one of our pastors in our conference. And so this week I actually started there as assistant pastor. Praise God. I'm doing a pastoral practice with him. And I'm also the medical cadet director for the Southeastern Conference. We've been working with them for 2 years now. Let me see. I also have a ministry online, like Brother Terrence. I took a little break for about 2 months, but I started back up last Friday. So every Friday, I choose different words from the Bible and I preach on those words. So the program is called Words to Live By, and I have a few people that are faithful and they're always listening and sharing with other people.
Yeah.
And that's basically it about me. I think I'm probably the oldest one doing this masters. I had a good experience yesterday. I want to share if you don't give me like another minute.
But
I went and participated on the job fair. I mean, I know that I don't graduate till next year, but I wanted to see how it was. What the conference are looking for, because based on the questions they ask you, you pretty much can tell what they're looking for in a pastor. And it was interesting. I mean, it was just like every conference, not one conference asked me the same question, and I was interviewed by 8 of them. So it was a blessing for me, because now I know, obviously as pastors, we let the Holy Spirit guide us, in our ministry, but you also prepare for certain things, certain areas of specialty that you may want to focus on in the ministry. I want to focus on the youth. It's what I'm doing right now with our youth department at the Southeastern Conference. But I had a really good experience. I just want to, let's just share that with you guys. I got what I got from most of them was I have to wait till I graduate. So, but I'm happy with that. I'm perfectly happy where I'm at. I would love my conference to hire me, but wherever God puts me, that's where I'll be headed.
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you're down in Florida. Your pastor is Ricardo Bay.
Yes, you know him.
I do. He was pastoring in New York.
Yes, that's him, Dr. Ricardo Bain.
Yep, I know him. So,
Yes,
so Daniel, you'd like to be a pastor.
that's my goal. That's what I'm aiming for. I want to be a pastor teacher. I always tell this to everybody. I want to teach more than I pastor.
Cool.
The church needs that. We need to teach. We need to give seminars. We need to train the members. And as a leader now in the church, I don't see that a lot. So I really want to focus, and being able to learn, so I can share, not just sit there and preach a sermon. Yes, that's great, but I want to be able to teach. Prepare different type of seminars, and just teach the church.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
Uba, do you want to be a pastor?
I'm praying about it. I've been preaching for a while, like in the conference and Greater New York and other churches. I do a lot of ministry.
Yeah.
Recently, I got more into chaplaincy,
Yeah.
right? So I'm still praying about it for direction to see if, at the end of the day, if I'll, go towards pastoring or I'll just do chaplaincy. Yeah.
No, chaplaincy is excellent work. And you'll see that that's dear to my heart. Terrence, do you want to be a pastor? What's your ultimate career goal?
I was been praying about it. My concern is, if I at this point in time it'd be not conducive for me to leave the Northeast area. So if I could be fortunate enough to get something within the conference, I would take it. But I don't think I would leave there. My wife's close to retiring. I own a house. It's a lot just to uproot my family. My kids are in school.
Yeah.
But if I was to get something in this area, I would take it. But that's why I'm also looking at the chaplaincy program too, with the VA. I am a veteran, and I do a lot with the veterans, volunteer at the VA. So either way, wherever the Lord leads me, I'm just open, looking at the different avenues. But my goal, I always wanted to go into the pastoring, to be a pastor. But the idea of going down south or going out west, and I don't want to be that far away from my family. My wife can't just quit a job at this point. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so I got to look at it. It's not just me; it affects everybody.
Yeah. Francina,
Yes.
what do you
Um, as far as I'm concerned, I am pastoring. I don't want to necessarily pastor a church, but like I said, I love working with women. I love working with young people and older people. So that's more where I'm centered. Now, if I have to do functions within a church, I can. I've worked as a county director for the Department of Human Services. I've got a bachelor's degree in biology and chemistry and master's in public policy and administration. So I'm kind of real versatile. Wherever God leads me to go, I'll go. But as far as being over a church, that's not a priority for me.
Gotcha. Listen, friend, quick question for you. And I heard Daniel call you friend. Is that what everyone
Yeah,
calls
friend
you?
is the best way. Mhm.
All right. Quick question for you. Are you over Brookhaven?
Yes.
All right. Do you know Charlotte?
That's one of the things that I'm trying to get women's ministry in, yes.
Yeah. I was instrumental in kind of getting restarting that church, Messiah Church, um,
Okay.
when Pastor Yolorda was there,
Okay.
um, which was a little while ago. They had two old ladies in the church, and I know every
Okay.
pastor tells this kind of story, but literally it was real. They had two
Mhm.
old ladies in the church, and that was it at Messiah Church in Brookhaven. So
Mhm.
Pastor Yolorda invited me to come down and be the an evangelist to run a revival. So he didn't tell me that there were only two members in the church, and he didn't tell me that I was going to be a Bible worker also. So I got down there. This was in I think 2007 and or 2008, one of them, and we started knocking on doors and ran a revival. And Charlotte Daniels
Mhm.
um, got baptized, and she brought the majority of her family with her, and they have a large family. And that was really the turnaround of that church. And so Charlotte is still there. I know that. I stay in touch with her from time to time, and I think she's a treasurer or clerk or something. I'm not sure, but she would be a great resource. All right, so let me introduce myself to you. I know most of you probably read my bio on the D2L. So I'm a graduate of Oakwood. I pastor in the Northeastern Conference. I pastor the Faith Church in Hartford, Connecticut. Faith is a church with a membership of 1,200. Prior to the pandemic, we saw about 600 people in church every Sabbath. Um, of course, with the pandemic, we are limited in what we can do at this time. I've enjoyed my ministry. I've been there for about a year and a half. I started in New York. I started at Mount Sinai in Queens. I was the assistant pastor there. Went to Kingsborough Temple in Brooklyn. I was the associate pastor. I was transferred to Connecticut, and I've been here ever since. I started at the Norwalk Church in Connecticut, which was my home church. That's where I was baptized as a boy. So it was interesting pastoring the people who gave me Bible studies. And then I was assigned to plant a church in Stamford, Connecticut, Breath of Life Fellowship. We planted, it was a Breath of Life crusade. Dr. Bird came and we ran a meeting and baptized 59 people, and we started a church. It was a young adult church. It is a young adult church. I had a blast. I pastored there for 2 years. I was transferred to Bridgeport Tabernacle in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Bridgeport Tabernacle had some difficulties when I got there. The membership had dwindled. There had been a scandal, and thanks be to God, we were able to turn it around. The tide skyrocketed. The membership attendance picked up. And we baptized good people, did some renovations, and the brethren transferred me to Faith Church, where I am now. I graduated from the MAPS program. I think I was in the third cohort of the MAPS program. I did an MBA at Southern Connecticut State University and the Doctor of Ministry program at New York Theological Seminary. In New York Theological is right next to Riverside Church, for those of you that are familiar with New York. So I did my doctorate there. I've taught at the seminary since I graduated, and I'm currently advising doctoral students, advising their dissertation. I also do chaplaincy work. Um, I did my first unit of CPE at St. John's Episcopal Hospital in Far Rockaway, New York. Did 3 more units in a residency at Bridgeport Hospital here in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And currently a per diem chaplain at Bridgeport Hospital.
Nice,
I
nice.
work, yeah, I work in the emergency department and throughout the hospital, mainly based in the emergency department. Um, it's challenging work. It's good work. It's fulfilling. So today, and I view myself as needing, there's 3 elements of my ministry. There's a pastoral element, there's an academic element, and then there's a pastoral care element. And so, or clinical. And I find myself fulfilled when I'm able to integrate those three elements. So, yeah, so I'm pretty much at a fulfilled place right now. I'm married, have one child. He is 20 months, and he is a ball of fun. So let's talk. So that's a little bit about me. Any questions? No? So let's talk about our course a little bit. I am still revising the syllabus, and I will get it out to you. I'm hoping to get the revised syllabus out to you tomorrow. Some of you have seen some of the books from the old syllabus. Some of it will still be there, some won't. There were like 7 or 8 books on the syllabus. I thought that was too much. I couldn't understand it, so I'm revising it down. I can tell you for sure we're going to be using this book, Don't Leave the Neighbor Out of the Hood. This is written by Dr. Jamie Commissar. Dr. Commissar serves as the pastor of the City Temple Church in Dallas, Texas. So for sure we're using this book, Don't Leave the Neighbor Out of the Hood. And for sure we're using this book, Faith-Rooted Organizing. I'll email this information to you. Faith-Rooted Organizing, written by Dr. Peter Hetzel and Alexia Salvatierra. Peter Hetzel taught me at the New York Theological Seminary. So those are 2 books that we're going to be using for sure. The course is Church and Community Relations. And as we think about church and community relations, it's a complex, especially given where we are in history today, because the church, not only are we thinking about advancing the cause of Christ in the traditional sense, where we are trying to do evangelism and extending, the kindness and the warmth of God to the world, but we're also interfacing today with social justice. Right, and as of late, social justice has been been the focus of the nation's attention. I think social justice kind of started waning in its not significance, but in focus. We weren't focused on social justice, and social justice has become a critical focus for the world, and as such, it must be a critical focus for us here in the church. One of the reasons why I believe in the Barna Institute supports this idea, and I'm sure you're familiar with the Barna Institute. The Barna Institute does tremendous research on Christianity and religion here in America. The Barna Institute says one of the reasons why young adults are leaving the church, the Christian church, not just the Seventh-day Adventist church, the Christian church overall, is because the Christian church is not talking enough about social justice. So we and Adventists are terribly complicit in it, right? And it drives me up the wall, our lack of focus on matters of justice. I think the issue exists for several reasons. One is our theology. I think our theology disconnects us from the reality of pain and suffering in our communities. Why do I say that? Because we believe that things are going to get worse before Jesus comes back again, right? I mean, that's what we generally believe. The world is going to be, in essence, in chaos. That's what we believe. And in order to create some kind of order, the world governments will turn to the Catholic Church, and there will be, a one world kind of government instituting a national Sunday law, and that will be kind of the trigger of the last day events, right? So that's our that's kind of a rough treatment of our theology. The idea that things have to get worse, I think, anesthetizes us as Seventh-day Adventists. It causes us to not react to the troubles that we see around us, because in the back of our minds we're thinking, this is just a sign of the times, right? So I actually hate when people say something is a sign of the times. it grinds my gears, because what we're saying in essence is we don't have to do anything about it because Jesus is going to come back and he's going to fix it. So the issues that our community face become of non-significance to us, which I think disconnects the Seventh-day Adventist Church from the community. So we have to push against, and I'm not saying throw out our theology, but we have to push against this attitude that distances us from pain and suffering. Another one of the contributing factors to this malaise, as it were, is this idea that our pastors are transferred and often don't live in the community. And that's based upon the brevity of pastoral tenures. And now we're talking about the structure of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So, Terrence, where does your pastor live? How far from your church does your pastor live?
My pastor lives in Boston. He's almost an hour and 40 minutes away from us.
Okay.
We do have a house on our property, but sometimes he does come down here and there, but he doesn't live in the community.
I got it. Well, Uba, how far does your pastor live away from the church?
Well, my pastor lives in Brooklyn, so he lives at least an hour away.
Right. Daniel, how far is your pastor from the church?
My old congregation, before
You're muted.
I gotta remember to unmute myself. Sorry. My old congregation, the pastor lived like 45 minutes, and now I just started working with Pastor Bain 2 weeks ago, so I don't know where he lives yet.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Friend, how far is your pastor? And your situation is a little different, but how far is your pastor from the church?
He is about 30 to 45 minutes away.
Okay, so it's not all that different. So see, and I live an hour from my church. So in each instance, we realize our pastors are at least 45 minutes away. Now, if the pastor does not live in the community, right, the pastor has very little investment in what's happening in the community, right? Like as a pastor, I have to discipline myself to read the newspaper of the city that I work in. My church is in Hartford, Connecticut. The newspaper that services Hartford is the Hartford Current, but I live in Bridgeport. The newspaper that services Bridgeport is the Connecticut Post. So often I read the Connecticut Post and I never pick up the Hartford Current. And so I drive into Hartford, drive up to my church, go do what I have to do at my church, go visit whoever I need to visit, and then drive out. So I'm not really interested in the community. That becomes compounded by members who often commute to church. So then we have these commuter churches, right? So then nobody lives in the community. In Uber's situation, almost nobody lives near his church. Most members are 30, 45, 60 minutes away. In Uber's situation, they have members in New Jersey. I'm sure they have members in Connecticut. They did a few years ago. They have members in New Jersey. They have members in Connecticut. They have members upstate. They have members in Brooklyn. They have members in the Bronx. They have members in Manhattan. I'm sure they even have some in Queens. So who is interested in Harlem? Who's interested in Spanish Harlem? Very few. Because the pastor don't live there, the members don't live there. So we're talking about why our church is disconnected from community. If the theology kind of distances us from pain and suffering, and then the pastor doesn't live there, and then the members don't live there, we'll never be engaged. And so we have to have some in focus, some intentional focus on being ingrained and present in our communities. One of the ways to do that is definitely to have community churches as opposed to commuter churches. I don't think we're going to win the community church over commuter church thing, right? Because people go where they're comfortable. So there are people who live closer to Terrence's church than they do to my church. but they come to my church because they like my church. There are people who live closer to my church than they do to Terrence's church, but they go to Terrence's church because they like the church. So I don't think we're going to win the argument when it comes to let's all move into the community of the church, right? That was a Jewish thing, and I think it worked in the Jewish community, but it's not going to work for us. So we must then have an intentional focus on what is happening in our communities. And after we have developed that intentional focus on what is happening in our communities, then we must have ministry that is tailored to the community. One of the things that frustrates me with the Seventh-day Adventist Church is that we tend to duplicate the same thing everywhere. Now, the same thing cannot work everywhere. Am I wrong or am I right?
You're correct. You're correct.
Thank you.
And I wanted to say this too, Pastor, what I found just being in Hartford area, because we have a strong West Indian population. So that's the community within the community. So like our church is predominantly Jamaican and people from the Caribbean. And so outside of our church is more African American. So there's a disconnect in the community there, because when I try to bring issues that are in my community, because I'm African American, they're like, well, it doesn't affect them, so they really don't want to hear it. So, but because of social injustice this summer, it's really heightened the reason why we should be more involved. So I think even though it was a bad thing, it was a good thing for our church.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and the other issue for sure is, and Fran, you might not have this issue as much as people in the Northeast or down in Florida, but immigrant populations, and I'm an immigrant, I was born in Jamaica, immigrants tend to be more interested in their home country than they are in the United States of America. And what I try to tell my folks is this: in as much as you may be from Jamaica or Trinidad or Barbados or Bahamas or Grenada or Liberia, wherever you're from, that's fine. Nobody's trying to take that identity from you. At the same time, recognize that your children are not that. Right? So I was born in Jamaica. I came here when I was 2 years old. I am Jamaican, but I am not Jamaican, right? First of all, I don't know much about Jamaica. Second, I'm not going to go live in Jamaica. I'm never going to go live in Jamaica. I will always live here in these United States of America. I'm not going back. As much as I enjoy Jamaican food, my son is probably going to enjoy Jamaican food less than I do. My grandson is just going to say, this is what my grandson will say: my grandfather was from Jamaica. He's not my grandson. By the time we get 2-3 generations down the road, that Jamaican stuff, that's all out the window. So what I try to tell my members is, even if you're not going to be invested in our community for the purpose of being invested, your mind is elsewhere. Be invested in the health of our community for your children and your grandchildren. We need a better community. Go ahead.
Like you said that too, Pastor. We struggle out in our church in the way we worship, because people from Jamaica worship different than people from America. The style, the music we listen to, and so the younger people are disconnected. They don't want to hear the back home type worship. And so we had to really talk. I had to really talk with the elders and also with our pastor. We had to change some things up. We were losing our group from 18 to 25. They just stopped coming to church. They were going over to Faith. They were going to Joy Missionary.
Yeah, don't change too much so that they can.
Yeah, we don't. But every now and then you gotta kind of
leave it alone so they come over to my church, okay? No, but I understand exactly what you're saying, and so let me deviate, but I want to come back. So in my dissertation, I studied millennials, right? And the thing that people have been saying about millennials is that they're unreliable, they don't support the church, they don't give to the church. They're all lies. I proved it because we started a church in Stamford, Connecticut with nothing but young adults. The oldest person Well, you know him. The oldest person was John Ashmead. He was the oldest leader in my church. The church had one senior citizen. It was his mother, and she was like 90. Everybody else, the treasurer was 25, the clerk was like 35, I was 27, 28. The music folk, they were all in, everybody was in their 20s. And we had a church that was jam-packed, 150, 200 people every single Sabbath. And so young people are interested in church. We just have to do church correctly. So remember, one of the things that I said to you is that they have an issue with social justice. And our churches don't focus enough on social justice. So my church is getting ready to do nominating committee. And one of the positions that we are creating is a social justice coordinator, which will be a board position. And that person's sole responsibility is to keep our church in dialogue with whatever is going on in social justice. So if somebody was killed in Hartford, we need to know about it. If there's a rally, we need to know about it. If there's a march, we need to know about it. We need to be at the vanguard of the discussion when it comes to social justice. Because that is what our young people need from our church. We see that God is a God of justice. Millennials, Gen Zs, they're interested in justice. And sometimes we're not ministering to the times because we are missing issues of justice. Just like during the Civil Rights Movement, the Adventist Church's official position was that Adventists shouldn't be involved. Now, what kind of foolishness is that? So we have to be at the vanguard. Here's where I was, and let me back up. So we duplicate the same thing everywhere, right? Now, every church doesn't need a food pantry. I know some people will say every church needs a food pantry. It's not true. Every church does not need a food pantry because every community doesn't need a food pantry. If every community needed a food pantry, it would make sense for every church to have one. But if every community does not need a food pantry, every church does not need a food pantry. Every community, however, needs ministry. And we have to create ministries that meet the felt needs of the community, right? And we can't just guess on that, but we have to sit down and actually look at the data to suggest where our community is. So, the New York Times recently had an article. Uva, if you want to make a difference in your community, I'm gonna give you something right here where you can make a tangible difference, and it doesn't have to be a soup kitchen or a food pantry. New York Times wrote an article recently, and I was just doing a presentation at the youth convention in Stanford this week and telling them about it. The article says that teenagers in New York, those in, urban areas, but specifically New York, have been hurt the most by schools operating virtually. That those children are falling behind far more than their suburban and rural counterparts. Right? So what I was saying to the youth leaders this past weekend is, we have to figure out some kind of way to not just focus on the Pathfinder book, but help these kids figure out their academics. We need to help them figure out their math, their science, their English, their social studies. The church has to do something academic for these kids that are falling behind. And I see it in my church. And I'm sure if you talk to the kids in your church, you'll see it in your church that these kids are falling behind. What can we do? Well, we can set up a tutoring and mentoring program. That's simple enough. Kind of something like Big Brothers, Big Sisters, but we do it with, in our church. We can contact the local college, find some college students who are interested in interning or volunteering. They need some community service, some fraternity, AKA, whatever, they need community service hours. And so we can help partner with them to create a tutoring program for kids in our community. And maybe it's an after-school program. a thought I've long held is every church can't do a church school, right? But every church can probably, if needed, do an after-school program. How hard is it for us to do an after-school program, 2 hours, 3 to 5, or I don't know, 2:30 to 4:30, or 3:30 to 5:30? 2 hours where we bring the kids in, give them some kind of snacks, help them with their homework, maybe have a pool table in the basement of the church so they can play pool, and maybe 20 minutes we do something religious to supplement what they aren't getting in the public school. I can't give you the answers. I don't know all the answers, but what I can say is we have to push ourselves outside the box to meet the felt needs of the community. Right? Once we start touching the felt needs of the community, then I think we are making significant progress. What did Ellen White say? That Jesus mingled with people as one who desired their goods, that Jesus met the needs of the people, and then she says he bade them to follow him. So we have to mingle, not live 50 minutes away, or at least if we live 50 minutes away, find some way to mingle in the community and meet the needs of the people there, right? And then we can translate that into evangelism. Okay, what are you guys thinking? Talk to me. I know I've been doing a lot of talking. You talk back to me.
You kind of stole my thunder. Something I'm working on at my church. I just finished writing a paper on my last class about we're working on opening up a daycare at our church and have a before and after school program for kids in school. I actually know the superintendent of East Hartford, and if you get enough students, we were going to use our church as a bus stop. We have where our church is located, there's mostly houses. And most of the houses for the community, both parents work. And one of the needs of the community is a safe place for the kids to be, because they might have to leave 6:30, 7 in the morning, but the bus don't come to 8. So if our church was open at 6, the kids come there, we use the bus stop. And then after school, they can have an after school program. I was talking to Elder Scarlett, Ray Scarlett, and we have a lot of our kids who are in college, so they can use Zoom from wherever they're at and be tutors. And we could ask for a stipend, and that would connect our kids who will go off to college to keep them connected to the church. So we're working on that program. Working with the health department, what we need to do. Also, the fire department got a couple of things we get coming up. So hopefully, once COVID-19, if we get to the point we'd like to hopefully roll it out by the fall. That's it. Yes. I realize one of the reasons that we don't connect to our community because we don't meet their needs.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I'm with you 100%, and in total agreement with you. All right, guys. So let me, Daniel.
Yeah, I wanted to say something. Our church with Dr. Bain has a school, but like I said, I just started with them this week, so I don't know what kind of programs they have, like if they have a tutoring program like that. Because while I listen to you say these things, my grandson was having the same problem, adapting to online classes, and he was doing really, really bad. I actually had to help him a little bit, the best that I could, because he lives far from here. So I'm gonna talk to Dr. Bain and see, once I get comfortable, what we can do, because I know he has a lot of plans for this year. Hopefully, the pandemic can go away. Our church is mainly adult people. We have very little youth. We do have pathfinders and adventurers, but it's not a great deal. And we have a really big church. The building is huge. The building for the school is right next to the church. It's really big. So. But that's something to think about. So I'm gonna, maybe find out if our church is doing that or not.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. For sure. It's important that we just, ascertain what the needs are and try to get out there and meet the needs. And Daniel, I found that even in my my church, we have a school, and a lot of our kids had a hard time transitioning to virtual learning. And we had to do fundraising and provide devices for kids who didn't even have devices. So it's been a challenge. I have a video I'd like to share with you. This is Adventist Community Services. And one of the things I'd like for us to really do is take advantage of the resources that our church provides. So for those of you that are not familiar with Adventist Community Services, Adventist Community Services is more than disaster relief. It's more than the food pantry and the soup kitchen. And I would like to show you an Adventist Community Services Center that is running a program for the homeless. This was 7 years ago, and I can only imagine where they are today. So let's go
In Coatesville, Pennsylvania, a Seventh-day Adventist Community Services Center is providing a safe haven, chance at a new life for those who have nowhere else to go. Over 30 years ago, the Coatesville First Seventh-day Adventist Church opened their doors to the homeless in their community, turning the Sabbath school rooms into a shelter every week from Sunday to Friday morning. After 6 years of this continued ministry, the church looked for a location where they could operate the shelter 7 days a week and expand their community service outreach. Through divine providence, they acquired the Atkinson Building, previously a hospital serving the underprivileged. On this property, the W.C. Atkinson Memorial Community Services Center was developed with a health center, men's shelter, apartments for low to moderate income, and a community services center. The Atkinson Center provides a continuum of housing, from the 22-bed men's shelter to transitional housing and supportive permanent housing to the apartments. The men who come to the Atkinson Center come from all walks of life, and many different circumstances have led them to these doors.
I found myself in a situation that I would hope nobody finds himself in. I became homeless. I became very ill. I lost my health insurance. I lost my home.
The Atkinson Center is based on a set of values that provide a strong foundation for personal growth. It is a place to help people get their feet back on the ground and their lives together. Each resident is given work responsibilities at the shelter and encouraged towards independence. The men's shelter is open every day from the dinner meal through breakfast the next day. In good weather, the shelter closes during the day to encourage residents to seek employment. They provide a counselor to the men to help chart their path and set goals.
We found out if you live the life of Christ in your relationship with people, then they want to ask questions that will make them grow. We try to nurture that person and build that person all the way from where they were to where God would have them. They have instilled a set of values in me. I have a sense of pride about myself now, thanks to the Atkinson Men's Shelter. They gave me hope, and they let me know that there's people out there that still love you in the world.
The transitional and supportive permanent housing provides men with their own bedroom and living space while they work to reestablish credit and gain independence.
This is one step away from your own apartment, your own place, getting things together and being your own man. And that's been a great resource for me.
Many of the men who have found success in the Atkinson program continue to volunteer or assist at the shelter to give back. All shelter staff are former shelter residents.
I don't forget where it came from. Like about twice a year, I get my clothes together. I bring it here. I remember people used to do that when I was here, and help out. I mean, that made a big difference too. That you see, like there are other people in the world, the community, just trying to make a difference and trying to help other people who's unfortunate.
And I want to give back as much as I can. You know, I am thankful. And I'm thankful to Atkinson for giving me that, the opportunity, not only to help myself, but to help them.
You know, we're here to make a difference. And we're here to be the eyes and the feet and the hands of Jesus Christ. And do things the way He would want us to do, and the way He would do it if He was here on earth Himself.
You can't be a disciple of Christ and not be the way they The Atkinson has an open door for us, like the open heart of God.
The Atkinson Center is an Adventist Community Services, or ACS affiliate, and a ministry of the Allegheny East Conference. ACS and its affiliates throughout the North American Division serve in their local communities through ACS's family of ministries: community development, crisis care, tutoring and mentoring, disaster response, elder care, youth empowered to serve, or YES, Hope for Humanity, and the Nonprofit Leadership Certification Program.
Christ has given us a mission to serve our local communities. We were created to take care of one another, not to push each other aside or condemn, but to understand that we were put here to minister to one another. It is mankind that has to reach mankind. And when we can reach back and help each other, then we are able to succeed.
Make a lasting impact in your community and beyond. Support ACS today.
All right. What's your thought? Can I have some feedback?
Yeah, very impressive, you know. One thing that got my attention is the fact that the folks showed up and they were blessed, right? And they became the volunteers, right? They basically were touched and they basically gave back, basically, and being the volunteers. And that was amazing. Another thing that struck me was that they were doing a whole bunch of stuff, right? It was not just giving food to people. They were doing tutoring, mentoring. It was like a full service ministry, you know. And I think it's one thing just to give people food, you know, but to actually go beyond just giving somebody food to eat and actually mentoring them and tutoring them, I think you're basically impacting them in a more tangible way. So I think it's a dynamic video. You know, I'm thinking about it and thinking about how I can incorporate some of the things I just saw in my local church.
Absolutely, that's fantastic. I love that. Any other feedback or thoughts?
What I got from it, instead of just giving the man a fish to eat for the day, they were teaching him how to fish, how to be self-sufficient. And they provided the steps. First they had the shelter with the 22 beds, and then they had the apartments where you had a room and teaching you how to recycle, having your own apartment. Then they had apartments that were reasonable. So I'm wondering if they were subsidized by any grant money or to keep the price down and make it affordable for these guys. That was one of my questions.
I'm sure they received some support financially, and I'm sure the conference supported the project as well. I want us to see that though, that this started because someone recognized that there was a problem with the homeless community in Coatesville, in Pennsylvania, and they said, we've got to do something about this homeless community. So they decided, before they got to the grant and before they got to the big building, somebody said, let's turn this church into a shelter. Right, Sunday to Friday, let's turn it into a shelter. I'm not saying you've got to go turn your church into a shelter, but that's what they did. And from there, obviously the ministry grew, obviously it was impactful, obviously it was effective. Somehow they were able to take ownership of this former hospital, whether it was given to the church, whether there were grant funds to secure it, I'm not sure. But this is what I figured out, that funds will follow your faith. And often we limit our vision to our pockets. And you should never limit your vision to your pockets, because your pocket will always say no. The budget, the census, the numbers, the figures, the statistics, they'll always say no. But on some level in the church, we operate with faith. Now, I'm not saying that you should do anything foolhardy. Don't go and put the church in debt. But what I am saying is create the vision, begin working, and allow the Lord to provide the resources. Because He is faithful to always provide the resources. Any other feedback, Fred? What do you think about that video?
I love the video, and I love that one of the men said that humankind has to help humankind. We have to be there for each other, and they went above and beyond. Excuse me. We have a very small church, but given an opportunity, there are things that we can do, through our community services. more than what we are doing now. Just like Oop said, looking at some of the things they did, there's some things we can do. We don't have a lot of young people, but there are young people in the community. We have done a little bit of tutoring and a couple of other things, but there's more that could be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, one thing that a church I pastored several years ago did, and I think we could expand on it. For Veterans Day, we went really all in this particular Veterans Day, and we had a strong veterans outreach. And Terrence, this might appeal to you, especially because you're a veteran. So what we did is we turned our fellowship hall into like a fair for veterans. So we had restaurants come and donate food for veterans. So I mean, nice prepackaged meals, restaurant quality from restaurants for veterans. We have free, we had barbers come in and do free haircuts for veterans. We had nail technicians come and do like nails for veterans. We had health insurance people come and kind of connect them with health insurance if that's the kind of thing they needed. I think we had Access Health Connecticut come. So it was almost like a fair for veterans, and at the end of the day, we were just letting them know that we appreciated them. And I think we went and we put out a bunch of flags in the lawn of the church. And I think the veterans left feeling, appreciated or valued or at least noticed, right? And so if our church were trying to create an outreach to veterans or a veterans ministry, I think that would have been a great first step. Then where we go from there would have been the next question. But that would have certainly been the first step in creating some kind of outreach or making some kind of inroads into the veteran community. So the name of the game really is finding that community and then creating something that meets a need that community has. Marketing is the idea of helping people to see a need that they have that they didn't even know they had. So for example, I thought my teeth were nice and I thought they were fine, right? Until I watched this commercial and they told me that if I use this toothpaste that I could lighten my teeth by like 15 shades. And then it dawned on me, I can lighten my teeth 15 shades, right? So these marketers figured out how to bring to my awareness a need that I didn't even really need. I know I had. And so that's what marketers can do. And we as the church don't even have to bring to people's awareness a need that they have. We don't have to create the need for them. The need is there. It is evident. All we've got to do is address the need. One of the ways that you address that need is by creating what is called a community development corporation. I'm sure many of you have heard about community development corporations. If you haven't, this is a great time to be introduced to community development corporations. Community development corporation is an entity that exists for the purpose of bettering the community. And we have community development corporations that are faith-based. So one of the major community development corporations in this country. Have I lost you guys? Do you need a break? No? Cool.
We're good.
One of them. What? Daniel, you're muted. I didn't hear you.
No, I said we're doing good.
Okay, cool.
I'm just thinking. I'm trying to process everything that you're saying. Because like I saw that video, and we work with ACS on the disaster response sides. The medical cadet ministry, but I never knew about that part of them.
Yeah.
So now with this new mission that I have with Dr. Bain, there's so many things I want to be talking to him about. See what we can do in that community where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? Let me pause before I go into community development corporations. What need do you think the Medical Cadet Corps can meet? What felt need do
Okay,
you think?
the ministry focuses on training the volunteers, the members, in disaster response. So basically, anything that we can teach them that's free to the public to help in case Florida's tornado. So, hurricanes. So, but obviously, when there's no need to activate the members in that aspect, we're involved in the mission. We go feed the homeless. We help. When we have big events at our conference, we go and help with the parking issue. With security work. So that's basically what we do.
So let me push you a little more. What out of the box approach do you think your medical cadet battalion in South Central, Southeastern would be a battalion, right?
It's actually the conference is a brigade, and we divide into two battalions because we cover the state of Florida. It's a big area.
Right. Okay. So and you lead your battalion?
I lead the conference. I'm the director for the entire conference.
You lead the entire brigade.
Yeah.
What out of the box approach to ministry do you think the brigade can take? And the reason, and I'm asking, and anyone can answer, but I really want us to think about a ministry that is sufficient in medical training, a ministry that is sufficient in safety/security training. What kind of, and a ministry that is sufficient in disaster response? What kind of, go ahead.
COVID-19 testing, I know like at the VA they were looking for volunteers, veterans who have prior medical experience because the testing goes for such a long time and they were getting shortage of people, so now they have volunteer veterans who have background in medical because they go over the basic training on how the swab is supposed to be done, how it's supposed to be handled, and they're bringing volunteers. If you guys, I'm sure the state, and because if you watch TV, if you watch anywhere, even Connecticut, but not even half the size of Florida, but the lines for COVID testing are long. And so if you can get more than one or two stations involved, that would help the testing be more efficient in your state.
That's good. I like that. What else? What other out of the box approach? I like that, the COVID testing thing. That's excellent. What else do we think they could do?
I mean, basically, we want to, we always pray about, because the help part of what we do, it's awesome. I mean, and even we right now we're trying to get certified. I don't know if you know what that is, Community Emergency Response Team. We're trying to get cert into the organization because it's going to open a lot of doors. It's like having an invitation to a disaster. Right now, if we go in, we have this blue camo uniform we put on. We go out there, for example, if there's a tornado, the police is going to stop us. They're not going to let us come in because they don't know who we are. But being certified, we can go into the disaster zone and help. But one of the things that we want to focus on and we pray about it is because any ministering church has to be there to save souls, to expand God's kingdom. So we teach a lot of pastoral care to them. So when they're actually, helping people, there's a moment in time where they can actually ask if they can pray for them, because we have to take advantage of the situation, and they'll know, hey, God is here for you, and so and you have to be delicate because when things like this happen, you don't want to rush into that. You want to help them out, get them out, do whatever we have to do. We build a triage, and we take care of them. But yeah, we want to focus on that and learn how to do it better.
Yeah, for sure. So, let me also say this. That I agree with everything you're talking about. Here's another area where I think we can help, and I believe there is a ministry from Southern New England Conference, a medical cadet corps that is doing this. They are doing active shooter training. Church.
We have that training, so
you do that.
Yeah, we have it. Yeah.
So I mean, we have them come in and do that kind of training for our church, our leadership. We had I think 100 people participate in that training. So I mean, I think things like that, there's obviously a need, and you guys you're meeting that needs. That's
Yeah, we,
excellent.
we help each other. I actually gave them 2 Zoom meetings on how to treat animals in disaster response, and I was
Nice.
amazed. There was like 120 people in the Zoom meeting, which was
Wow.
great. So yeah, we're really we work together because obviously we consider medical cadets to be one worldwide.
Right.
Even though every conference has its own separate training, but there's a lot of things that we do the same. But yeah, we
Right.
do have that active shooter training here also in our conference.
Perfect. Perfect. That's beautiful. So I mean, and if we push it, I'm sure we can come up with maybe 15 or 20 different ideas and approaches for medical missionaries. And I just want us to see that we are innovative and we're creative enough to come up with this stuff. All right. So I think we lost Fran. I hope she's all right. Um, but I think we lost her sister. So, Herb,
We have
are you there, Herban?
Yeah, I've been on for a good 20 minutes, but I apologize for being late. I just got registered. There was a problem getting me in the system, and
Oh,
I finally got in. But I hope I'm not out. But there's one other area that they may have been touched on before that I'm very interested in when it comes to medical. It's something called the parish nurse approach.
mm-hmm.
You ever heard of? I don't know if my class have heard about that.
No, go right ahead.
Explain that. I don't know that.
Basically, a parish nurse basically is a certified nurse that the church or a group of churches will hire. And work just like a Bible worker, with the exception that their ticket really bring health into the community as well as to the. And I know the church my sister goes to, they have really done very well with that. They have fixed the baptism last year. And they're servicing over 2,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's called the parish nurse. And you can go on Google it right now. It's been in existence since 1965, 1975. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is first. But basically, just like a Bible worker, go along getting Bible studies, health, except it's all about health message, laws of health, and also dovetails with also grief. Grief ministry is also a lot of that going on in our community. So, for example, if they see a person's name in the obituary that don't have a church assigned to them, that's a ticket to call, because then they don't have a church. So they will call and then do the funeral at our church and develop a relationship with them and try to introduce Christ that way. So those are some of the things that we're trying to pursue.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
that's very creative.
Thank you. And as we talk about medical support, so in my community in Hartford, there is a program called Malta House, and Terrence, you're probably familiar with Malta House. Malta House provides free health care. They do it once a week. And it's similar to the parish nurse thing, and I love the parish nurse concept actually. So what Malta House does is they have it would almost seem like a motorized health clinic, right? And and most of our conferences have a health van, and some churches have a health van. So it's something like the health van, and they park at a particular location, and that location is responsible for supplying them with a restroom, waiting area, and internet. And so they pull their van up, and the folks go in and get registered, and they sit in the waiting room, and then they call them into the van and provide medical service, primary care, medical service. And there are some members of the church that exclusively go to Malta House for their care. And it's for people who are 18 and over, and as long as they don't have insurance and they bring some photo ID, they'll do women's health and vaccines and all kinds of tests, and they write orders for imaging and different various diagnostic tests. So it's a beautiful ministry, and I'm with you, Herb. I think health, we can go a long way with health. All right. So listen, I wanted to transition us to talking about community development corporations. I have another video to share with you. I'm big on sharing videos. So here is another video. This one is 17 minutes, and then we'll reconvene.
I'm Clifford Jones. I'm pastor in the Greater Peace Baptist Church as well as president of the Greater Peace Community Development Corporation, 501c3. And I'm located here at the church. Both programs are run out of the Greater Peace Church. The primary focus of the Community Development Corporation is what it really indicates in its title, and that is providing opportunity in communities to help develop the community. And that can take a lot of different avenues in order to do that. It can be from education initiatives to healthcare initiatives to housing initiatives. But whatever it is done, it is done to help make the community better and impact the lives of people. You can do community development without being a 501c3. But however, if you're going to benefit from the programs that are offered through foundations, government programs, you've got to have a 501c3. Once you have been identified by IRS for 501c3, then you begin the process of seeking opportunity for development and having activities going on in the community. In order to get there, you have to fill out the paperwork through the IRS, submit that, which includes a board, and provide an opportunity for leadership within that organization to begin to do the kinds of activities that build a 501c3 to the point of having the programs available to impact our community. So you really have to go through the 501c3. There is a short form that IRS has done now that one can, they call it the easy 501c3. It does not take as much time, does not, you don't have to go through all the paperwork, but it is limited to the amount that you're supposed to be able to earn within a year. You're going to earn less than $50,000. You can go through that program. If not, that'll go a long way and fill out all of the forms in order to get the benefits for greater opportunities to increase your finances. One of the things as we began to develop the nonprofit work here, first thing we did, we wanted to do a survey of the community, and we actually hired a student from the University of University to come in and canvass the community because we did not want to come in and tell them what we were going to do for them. We wanted them to tell us what they felt they needed. They actually came up and they came up with many topics that they wanted, but we decided to take the top 3 based on the survey and the information that they had provided. And the top 3 that we started to work on, they wanted more activities for youth in the community. They wanted more quality child care, and they wanted more affordable housing. And so those were the 3 areas that we identified. We began working on those areas. The first one was our Youth Leadership Academy for youth. We run that twice a year. fall as well as in the spring. That program has been going on since the inception of our work in community. And it is still going on now. We just completed our 28th session of the Youth Leadership Academy. We bring students in from all of the high school, 9th and 12th graders to give them leadership skill, talk to them about things that are facing them in life. And but once we had done the survey, got those top 3 items, then we invited the community in to sit down and talk to them about what we were going to, how we were going to operate as a nonprofit in the community. They bought into that. They received it. They were waiting for something like this to happen. And so we had a great reception from the community overall. So I think the first thing, rather than going in any group, instead of going in and saying what we're going to do, we need to hear from the community to see what they want. You want to have a board that is going to be reflective of the community. A lot of time, boards are formed to have people exactly like you are. Those are the people you want to. But I felt that it was necessary to have a cross-section of people on my board. Certainly we have some out of the church, but we went into the community. We have bankers, a lawyer. You want to be able to find people to serve on your board who may be able to help in some of the issues or some of the work that needs to be done. So we found an attorney. Whenever we have to do legal work, they do it. They may charge us small, but not as they are not on the board. I have a lawyer on the board, same level of attorney, but I have an accountant on the board also. Provide that same kind of work. So I have educators, I have law enforcement on my board, just a broad range of people who are willing to serve and understand the role that the board has. And I'm willing to let them serve on the board. We have a 15-man person board, and made up of men and women, educators, counselors, former school teachers, because our program cut across so many different areas that each one brings something unique to the board that will be able to impact those programs. So don't try to find a board that is just like you, but challenge yourself and bring people in and have people to be willing to question you as to what you do as information is from. One of the things you got to be aware of is that you have to have a source of resources funding coming in. That's one of the hardest things for a nonprofit. When we started our nonprofit, especially our Youth Leadership Academy, we didn't have any resources. Yet we wanted to start a program that did not cost a lot of money to do. And so we could run the program here. We could have the school system to identify students and make the announcement for them to come to this program at free of charge. But one of the things I wanted to do was to provide a meal for the students when they came in, because we started at 6 o'clock. Our academy runs from 6 until 7:30. We provide a meal the first half an hour for them to eat, and then the last hour they are in program. So I began to look at the business community and the foundation and manufacturers in the community. And I went to them, talked to them about what we were seeking to do, and asked for funding to help provide a meal for them, as well as providing a banquet at the end of the 8th session. We do 7 weeks, and then the 8th week is graduation. They bought into it, and they began to give contribution for that. And that first year, we ended up getting over $10,000 for just going out and asking. That was one way that we were able to get going and begin to bring some resources in. If we didn't use all the $10,000, at least we ended up build a pool of money for us to be able to do that. So that was one way. We also found out that many of the legislatures have discretionary funds, and I began to tap into those and talk about the program. Once you sell your program, they began to understand the fact that they are willing to give back some of those funding to a good nonprofit program. But then the other thing we found out, we had to have a consistent stream of monies coming in. One of the things, and we began to look for a good fundraiser that we felt that we could have each year that raised a significant amount of money that would help carry us through the year, along with the other funds that we had coming in. And so about 6, 7 years ago, for example, we started with what we call a Taste of Lee County Community Roast, Community Comedy Roast. And we've done that for 7 years. Last year we roasted Jay Jacobs, the former athletic director here, and we raised about $55,000 as a roast. We've done the two mayors of Auburn, Opelika, Tommy Agee, who was a football player at Auburn and played with many of the, I think started out with Seattle and played at Dallas also. And so each year we identify someone to come in to roast. Bruce Pearl has agreed for that group to roast them next year. This year we're going to roast Dolly Marshall, who owns all of the McDonald's in Lee and Macon County. So our goal each year is to raise anywhere from $35,000 to $50,000 to help carry us through the program. So that has been a good resource. So anyone who is trying to start, you have to be creative, go outside of the box and look for opportunities. We've done a lot of different things with that golf tournaments. That is, it can be good in one year, the next year may fall flat. We've done several other things, but this community roast seemed to have been the niche that we needed to tap into. I think the CDC can impact the community in many ways. As I mentioned before, we did a survey to find out what was needed in the community. Once we identified that, we began to move forward to provide the support and the initiatives that we need in order to change the nature of the community. So we, as I said before, we started out with Youth Leadership Academy. The second thing that we impacted the community in was the child care. There's no separate individual home, maybe two or three kids, but no sort of commercial child care facility in this part of the community now. So we built the child care facility that will house up to 102 children. We were licensed through DHR. We still are licensed through DHR, and we provide, actually we're licensed to do night as well as daycare. So that was the other piece that we did to impact the community. But the third area was the fact of housing that they had identified as a need. And with that, we began to look at opportunities that we could invent. We found out there was a landlord selling some of his rental housing in the community. Didn't have any money, but we were able to go and convince the bank to give us a line of credit of $100,000 in order to buy up some of the, they were really dilapidated homes. We ended up buying 5 homes, 2 duplexes, and 1 single 3-bedroom. We were able to buy those and really remodel them, put people in to have quality life in Central and air and all of them. And we were able to get CDBG funds from the city and get some other funds from HUD in order to do that. And so we were able to put kids, put people, families in those homes to stay. We had to maintain for at least 5 years. But after the 5 years, we could convert them to properties. And so we have, since that time, have taken down all of those homes except one. And we are in the process now of building, getting ready to build single family housing on those projects. So individuals can come in and purchase those at a moderate price to become like a homeowner. But then we also had an opportunity to build a housing development. We built a housing project, we called it Jordan's Gate. 48 houses, 3 or 4 bedrooms, just less than a quarter of a mile from here, that we have put people in for them to live to tax credit for 15 years. After the 15 years, then we will convert those into homeowners, and they will purchase those homes. So we feel that based upon the survey that was done, we have met all of the community needs, but since that time, we've gone into so many other areas because we find out that as you begin to go into those areas, they will come with other ideas. And we have sought to provide those opportunities. They mentioned they need more activity. When we built the Life Center, I had not planned to put a gym in, but because of the things that said we need more activity, we decided to go ahead and add a gymnasium to our building, and it has been outstanding. It has a tremendous impact on the community with youth, but not only that, but it is used a lot in the organization, needing a place to host. We host the Boys and Girls Club, we host as I mentioned, our community roles, anniversaries, weddings, so it almost used on a weekly basis. So all of those kinds of things have impacted the community, and being a nonprofit, being able to benefit from resources and opportunities to help us know where we're going to go from.
All right, let's talk. What do you think?
I actually started a nonprofit about a year and a half ago.
Okay.
I had to modify because when I went to apply for the tax exempt form, I didn't put exactly the way the state required, so I amended it. So now I have to resend it again. And the reason that we're doing this, especially for the medical cadet ministry, the conference doesn't have a fund per se for certain activities we want to do. They have money that they give us from the youth department for, let's say, we did a camp last year, and they kind of helped us because it was in a big campground with the food, etc. But we want to do certain things outside that, and we don't have money. So, and I wish if you can share that link with us, maybe we can have it. I would like to listen to it again and take notes because I think it's very interesting. I want to complete my nonprofit and get money. For example, CERT. I have friends that can help me get funds for CERT for the government, but I have to have everything in place, and I have the corporation already, but I need the tax exempt for it to be official.
That sounds great. So let's make a goal that by the end of this semester that you're going to have everything submitted.
Yes. Yes, I'll probably have the money in a month or so to send the paperwork in. And that's all I need. Once I send it in, it takes about 2 months for them to get back to me. But
fantastic. Sounds good. Anyone else? What are your thoughts after we watch that video?
Oh, you made a great point when you said that it's not good to have a board with everybody with the like mind. I think that's one of the things that is demise to us when we try to do community projects. As a church, we just want all like-minded people, and you don't get anywhere. You gotta kind of I know even for church function, I believe should have some people from the community involved in some of the decision making because even me, like our church is in East Hartford, but I live in Manchester. I go in and out East Hartford, but I really don't know the ins and outs of the community. I do sit on the clergy board for East Hartford that works with the conjunction with the East Hartford Police, so we meet once a quarter. And I also sit on the board for mental health there that they have. And so, but there's other issues that go on a daily basis in East Hartford that I'm probably not familiar with because I don't live in the community. So to have a voice from that community and have a voice like someone who understands accounting, have a voice someone who understands law enforcement, I think is a good way to have your board set up.
For sure. Anyone else?
Yeah, there's so many things I got from watching that video. I just want to highlight two. One is something you kind of alluded to earlier about money following your vision. It's like he had a vision, that they wanted to do certain things. Then the money followed, right? And whatever they wanted to do, the vision was already there, the plan was already there. And as they put that in place, funds came, Another thing that I think is important is a lot of times when we talk about ministry, we talk about outflow, we need the money, but to sustain any ministry, the inflow is important. As you mentioned, you need inflow in order to have outflow. And I think it's a basic principle that I think every minister should understand. Not every preacher has an MBA or a master's in accounting. Finances, I think, is an important part of ministry. And if ministers understand the 101 of finances, it helps our ministry.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I concur with that. Anyone else?
I wanted to add that, Dr. Blue, in our class last semester, he also talked about nonprofit that he has one in his church, because when he started his ministry, feeding the community, he was telling us that the church wasn't on board at the beginning, so he started it with his wife, and now like more than half of the church is involved, and they're feeding like 500 people a week in the church, and and with the nonprofit that he built, he told us that if I remember right, like he got like $15,000 of money, at the end of the year. So I believe this is something that we need to do. I mean, there's not a crime. It's not against the church. We need to find ways to unfortunately everything that we want to do costs money. And there's a lot of free money out there.
Absolutely. So 501c3s are critical. I had one at my former church where it was still in the formation process where I am now. At my former church, we would get a grant from the city of about $50,000 a year to help people avoid homelessness. So with that, we would help pay rent. We would also put down security deposits for people who were looking for housing, and that came from the city. We ran our soup kitchen through that same organization. That organization used to get from the local government about $20,000 a year to operate the soup kitchen because we serve maybe 200 people per week. We also ran through that a back to school ministry where we would kind of do bag giveaways and so on. We ran that through that entity. We had on our board non-Adventists and Adventists. In the Constitution, the majority had to be members of the church, in the bylaws rather, but the majority of the board had to be members of the church, nominated by the church board. But the rest, the board would fill with people on the outside. Again, attorney on the board, again, accountant on the board, We had social workers on the board. So just people with, we did have law enforcement police officer, so people with reach into the community. And that was called Bridgeport, it was BTCDI, Bridgeport Tabernacle Community Development Initiative. And you can name it whatever yours, what you'd like. You can form one for your church. I think almost every church have one. One of the most powerful community development corporations, faith-based community development corporations in the nation is the Abyssinian Development Corporation in Harlem. They were responsible for bringing a pathmark to Harlem maybe about 30 years ago, when there was no supermarket. They were responsible for bringing a pathmark, because Harlem is considered a food desert. They aren't anymore, but they were at the time, because a food desert is when there is no supermarket within a particular community. So people would have to commute out of the community, and it becomes difficult, especially for people who don't own vehicles, to access fresh, healthy food. So then they end up shopping in bodegas and corner stores, and they're buying things that aren't the healthiest, aren't the freshest, and their health becomes compromised. Another issue that some community development corporations have tackled is pharmacy deserts. I think that has come to the forefront over the last few weeks as well. The importance of pharmacies in communities, and many of our communities don't have pharmacies. And so, the closest Walgreens might be 2, 3, 4, 5 miles away. And if you don't have a car, it becomes difficult to get to Walgreens or CVS or Walmart or Target or whatever other pharmacy you're trying to get to. And so then, and if there are mobility issues, I mean, it's just compounded even more. And so then it's difficult to access your medications, especially if the pharmacy doesn't deliver. It's difficult to get assisted devices. It's difficult for vaccinations. So, some community development corporations are thinking and saying, okay, to bolster the quality of life of the folks in my community, I want a supermarket here, or I want a pharmacy here, and they're agitating and advocating to make it happen. Whether you are feeding the hungry, whether you're providing some kind of medical services, whether you're trying to remedy an issue in your community, it's important that you form a community development corporation. That's like the vehicle that is utilized for great and lasting change, and to attract church dollars, so non-tithe, non-offering dollars. You really form a community development corporation. Another thing I want to highlight, and I'm going to let you all go because I have a sermon that I want you to listen to, write a reflection paper to. And that reflection we're just going to do before class next week. Another community development corporation that is what was so powerful about their community development corporation is that they kind of surveyed the community, figured out what the needs were, and set out to meet those needs. And as they met the needs, they expanded their reach, they expanded their services. But they never lost sight of the original intent to meet these felt needs in the community. And he said that he felt that they reached those needs, they met those needs, and they had exceeded them. And so I think it's important, again, for us not to think about what the community might want or what the community might need, but actually engaging with people on the ground, figuring out what they need, and then setting out to actually meeting those needs. Another community development corporation that I admire, I can't remember the name of the corporation right now, that's failure on my part, but it's based out of the Allen AME Church in Queens, New York. And the sermon that I'll ask you to listen to was preached by the pastor of that church. He has since been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and he's the shadow of the man that he once was. but his name is Floyd Flake. He's a pastor, I believe, still at the Allen AME Cathedral. Though his wife does most of the ministry now, she's the co-pastor. Floyd Flake started pastoring the Allen AME Cathedral, had to be at least 45, maybe almost 50 years ago in New York. When he went to that church, it was right around the corner from the Linden Boulevard Seventh-day Adventist Church. And those churches were similar in size. However, for some reason, his church had a sense of the maladies in the community, and they sought to address them. They addressed housing, they addressed senior care, they addressed education, banking, amidst a myriad of other issues. And in the sermon, he kind of describes some of his approach, which I think is powerful. The sermon is entitled "Don't Box Me In." It was preached at Pastoral Evangelistic Leadership Conference, PELC, maybe about 12, 13 years ago. And this was the old PELC. If you watch the entire video, you'll see E. Cleveland in the video. If you watch the entire video, you'll hear that Delbert Baker was still the president of Oakwood University. This was in excess of 10 years ago. And it's really an inspiring message, but just thinking about the work that he has done in his community is even more moving. I believe he said that if anything comes up for sale within a 10-block radius of his church, he buys it. So whatever property comes up for sale within 10 blocks of the church, they buy it. When you drive past the church, there's signs that say Allen AME Community. They're not far from our conference offices. And they literally have taken over and transformed the entire community. Building housing, building senior housing. Floyd Flake also ran for Congress, and he was a member of Congress for a few years representing that community. He's a really inspiring individual. You can do some research on him, and especially on the work that he's done in the community. There are some scandals attached to his name. Don't get too caught up in the scandals, or deterred rather, by the scandals. But trust me, Floyd Flake's ministry to his community is just moving. And again, the title of this course is Church and Community Relations. And I believe that the church can literally transform the community. All right. Any questions, comments, concerns, ideas, thoughts, reflections, recipes?
Is the sermon in YouTube?
It is.
What's the name of the pastor again?
Floyd Flake. Don't worry to look it up. I will put it in the chat. I was also planning to email it to you, but it's there in the chat. Everyone, you can see it in the chat. So I will send to you two links. I'll send to you via email the link for Floyd Flake's sermon. I'll also send the link, as you requested, Daniel, with the other two videos that we watched today.
Thank you.
And so I'll send those out. And did everyone get my email today? I think everybody did.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Perfect. I'll also send the syllabus via email as well. And I'll post it on Patreon.
Yeah.
All right.
I have one observation.
Sure.
Not an observation, but a question. Maybe she wait another time, but my problem many times with the conversation we're having has to do with what matrix are we following to say that we are successful, number one. Is it just because I got a crowd following my thing, my ministry, and I'm providing? How much of those people am I actually bringing to Christ? What do I do besides leading? They initiate a relationship where I can now bring that message. And the white says that no evangelism should start without a relationship. And so
it's not a question, not an answer necessarily to be asked tonight, but as we go through this course, that's the question that I would like. We could be a social service, but we need to be more than just that. And the last question is, for me as a physician, is instead of asking what the needs are, you also need to ask why the needs are present. Because being hungry may mean the fact is that I don't have a job, I live in a bad place, I'm living in a desert. So to solve the problem is more than just feeding them, it's also dealing with the reasons why I'm hungry.
Absolutely.
And so, it's one thing to treat diabetes, but it's also, I need to try to figure out why you had it in the first place to take those triggers away from it. So our ministries are more than just dealing with the end result, but also trying to deal with the origin why we have the problem. And
Absolutely.
especially if you're going to bring a health message that needs to bring lifestyle changes, is more than just dealing with the actual hunger. Why are you hungry?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree. So here are two things to in response, and I think we'll have some lively discussion throughout the semester. One of the things, though, is that organic ministry really brings about connection that leads to conversion. The challenge, however, that I feel we often have is that it's not our ministry is for the purpose of evangelism. So we're not meeting needs for meeting needs' sake. We often meet a need for evangelistic benefit, and when we don't get the evangelistic benefit, then we become discouraged, and I really think that's the wrong approach. If we meet needs instantly, there will be an evangelistic benefit without us then having to introduce that question. So at my former church, there were people who would come on a weekly basis for the various ministries, soup kitchen, food pantry. And I had the opportunity just to interact with some of them, just to go out and chat with them as they stood in line, as they waited. And some of them genuinely felt a sense of connection. And we had this thing going where some of our leaders would just go, our elders would go and just talk with them. And they felt this sense of connection, that we cared about them, that it wasn't just food. And some of them actually joined the church. But if we don't make it organic and natural and real, and foster real relationships, then I think people can see right through that and not they'll just take the benefit and leave. I also think that the question of success, like you asked, what kind of rubric do we use to measure success, is a meaningful question. Success can't always be measured by numbers. Jesus wasn't successful everywhere. Literally, the Bible says he came into his own, and his own received him not. So I don't think every ministry is going to be successful everywhere. And if we judge in the short term, or try to determine the impact in the short term, we might miss the whole picture. I mean, if you take a snapshot of Jesus' ministry as he hangs on Calvary and wonders, was this effective or not? I mean, it looks like a failure. Everyone had disappeared on him, and there were just a few at the foot of the cross. But my God, I mean, the majority of the world's population today, I believe the majority of the world's population today are Christians. So the ministry of Jesus was absolutely effective. But yeah, so listen, let's wrap this class up. We've gone longer than I had intended. I apologize, because I am going to send you this sermon that I'd like you guys to take a listen to, and just write a one-page response before class. I'll send you emails on the books that I'd like you to purchase. One is Faith Rooted Organizing. You saw this earlier. The other one is Don't Leave the Neighbor Out of the Hood. This is written by Dr. J.P. Hollis. This one is authored by Dr. Peter Etzel. And I'll send those to you along with the updated syllabus. So may the Lord watch between me and thee while we are absent one from another.
Amen.
And you all have my contact information. You can reach me at any time.
Thank you.
Have a blessed night.
Thank you. God bless you all. See you.